Hello and welcome back to another BIONICLE 2015 set preview. Today I have with me set number 70788, Kopaka, Master of Ice. Now before we begin, I would like to preface this video by stating that this is yet again another Comic-Con build, and essentially what this means is that this was a mock created using the parts we received at the VIP party at New York Comic-Con. As such, this particular build might not be 100% accurate to the retail version, but due to our experience with the set in hand, a bit of help from the community, and some guidance by the BIONICLE team itself, we do believe that this is a fairly accurate representation of the retail version. But as always, we will include an image gallery in the description for you to look at and pick apart anything we might have done wrong. Now in this review, we will go over a few pros and cons of this particular build, and whether those pros and cons actually carry over to the retail version or not, we will cover that in another separate video once the set has been officially released. But with that out of the way, let's get into the set itself. Now Kopaka here introduces another look at the Gearbox system that LEGO has introduced for this line. Now Kopaka's is special in the fact that it actually is the first set so far I've reviewed that includes a locking mechanism. What this means is that only one of Kopaka's arms are actually functioned by the gear, whereas the other one is locked. You can see this piece used right here. The gear function, as always, works particularly well, and with the help of two small gears here, there is a good enough friction in the arm to reduce any flopping that might occur. In fact, the arm proves to be fairly stable, and is able to support a good amount of weight. Now this isn't the first time we've seen Kopaka, of course. We've also had him in several different forms throughout the years of BIONICLE's run, but right now, I've got with me a lineup of Kopaka Nuva and Kopaka Mata. And as you can see, this year's version of Kopaka is a very good evolution between the Mata version and the Nuva version, carrying similar traits from both sets. The biggest jarring difference between this version of Kopaka is the change in color scheme. This Kopaka features not only white and silver as the original Kopakas have, but also a nice translucent blue here, as well as some gold. Now the gold is a very interesting choice, and originally when I first saw the images of this set, I wasn't quite a fan of it, but I gotta say, after seeing the set in person a lot more, the gold is really starting to grow on me. I do still kind of question its use, its practicality there, but overall, I don't think it detracts too much from the set. However, it is a lot of colors, and I imagine that there are some people that would have liked it to remain two primary colors. Weapon-wise, Kopaka retains his nice spear that he carried in the Nuva version, as well as his shield. Now, his shield is interesting, because not only is it huge and epic, but it's also sharing pieces with Toa-Tahu and his lava blades. Now, I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of this. I really wish they had created some dedicated shield pieces for Kopaka or some dedicated sword pieces for Tahu. I just can't really, I don't know. I feel like this is such a big part of Kopaka's character. I kind of wish it was something a bit more unique to him. And same with Tahu. Tahu's lava blade has always been a big part of his character as well. And it's a little disappointing that both of these characters share the same piece. Now, posability-wise, Kopaka really is about as average as most LEGO sets here. He's got fine articulation in all of his joints. Now, his calves here are a little large, actually, and they do limit his knee movement just slightly, but his knees can still retain a nice 90-degree angle worth of a bend there. However, the armor pieces on his legs do kind of stick out a little bit, and it's quite an odd design. However, seeing the set in person, I don't think it's that big of an issue, and I think it gives his legs some nice added detail to look especially more Bionicle-like. The gears do not limit his posability in his arms whatsoever, which is just fantastic to see. And another fantastic thing about Kopaka, his shoulder arms actually utilize the ball joints at the front. Now, this was an issue with most of the other sets because since the arms attached through the gearbox in the back, this usually left some open ball joints right there next to the chest. But for Kopaka, that is not an issue. Great to see some utilization of these parts here. And because of this, you can rotate his shoulder armors to however you're liking. This can result in some pretty mean poses, if I do say so myself. Look at that. Kopaka is as cool as always. Now to show a better look at his gearbox system, I'm going to take apart the gearbox from his torso piece. Now, just like Tahu and practically most of the other Toa, the torso consists of two separate parts. The Hero Factory torso, where all the armor plating is attached to, and the actual gear system itself. Now here you can see that locking mechanism in place there. It replaces what would be a gear here so that the arm doesn't move around. It's a really nice feature, and it can be utilized in practically every other Toa. In fact, I think it can be utilized in all the other Toa. All you have to do is just replace the gear with this part. Unfortunately, it does not come with every single Toa, but only a few Bricklink orders will be all you need to get that part. And one final thing to say about his articulation that I'm actually not quite a fan of is the way his shield connects to his arm. See, it actually just kind of connects to his hand via this pin peg system here, and it can be a little awkward to pose at times because the shield just kind of attaches to it like so, and because of this, you really have to bend his hand down to get some decent poses, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. So here I got like a decent blocking pose, but if you look, his hand is doing some very awkward positioning there, and I feel like this could have been easily avoided by just giving one extra piece here to attach the shield to. But it's a minor gripe, it's not that big of a deal, and overall I don't think it really detracts from Kopaka's overall awesome presence. Now, as with the other Toa, Kopaka features an adrenaline mode, and this is actually pretty cool. See, his shield can come apart just like Tahu's blades and attach to his feet to form some nice snowshoe ice sliding thingamabobs, ice skates. I don't really know what they're used for, but it looks like on his promo art he can use them to skate, and that is just like how Kopaka Nuva utilized his spear as well. And this is really, really cool to see some awesome just callbacks to the Nuva forms. Now thankfully, unlike Leo, Kopaka isn't really limited by head movement. His shoulder pads do get in the way a little bit, but since they're on these ball joints, they can be easily moved out of the way, and Kopaka can easily look up as much as he wants. It's fantastic. And this can result in some very nice ice skating poses. And as with the other sets, Kopaka comes with a nice complementary golden mask. And it certainly works better for him since he does have other golden parts. More so than it did for Liwa. But it's a bit too gold heavy on the top torso area. Doesn't really seem scattered out as well as I would have liked it to be. So, that is something to note about the golden mask, but it is a nice little added feature and another nod back to the original 01 sets. So I gotta give them props for that. He also comes with his complimentary skull spider. Now this spider is a nice metallic silver, which is cool to see. Different than the lime green and Metro blue that we got before. And as with the other Toa, it can easily attach to his face, like so. And Kopaka in full-on facehugger mode is quite a sight to behold. I feel like the Skull Spider mask is a lot more menacing in silver. I'm quite a fan of this color. And with the added mechanism of being able to launch the mask, you can eject the Skull Spider right off his face. Unfortunately, because of the legs, it doesn't really work as intended. I still feel like the chest piece is just a bit too close to his head. This can easily be fixed with an extender, which is also included with this set, just like Tahu, here on the legs here. Now, so far I haven't really noticed any issues with his legs popping off as much as Tahu's were. This could just be contributed to the parts itself, and just being a tighter joint in general. And this can vary depending on which set you get, and if you're lucky or not. But, as per usual, if you are having an issue with these joints, the legs popping off, this joint should loosen up in time and the legs should be a lot more stable. Now, something unique to Kopaka that I found really interesting is that he actually does come with these nice new protector body pieces, but it comes in its own primary color, and that's really interesting because the other Toa either have this piece in gold or silver. Kopaka is the only set where you can actually get this in white. aside from the Protector of Ice. Kopaka is the only set where you can get this in a unique color, and that's actually really, really cool. And as with all the other Toa Sans Onua, Kopaka does include a printed chest piece. Now, this printed chest piece is interesting. I actually kind of like it, more so than the Liwa chest piece, for instance, because I feel like there's a lot more detail to it. It doesn't just seem like a bunch of scribbles as much as Liwa's did. And overall, I think it has a nicer design, and I also really, really like the nice shining blue lines there. I think it's a really nice feature here. However, placement of these things is a little odd. I guess they're vents. Not really sure. I don't know. It kind of stands out to me. It looks a little weird. It's like he's got robo nipples or something. Not a fan of that. But overall, I like the chest piece a lot more than Liwa's or Tahu's. It works a lot more for him, and it helps balance out the color scheme as well, and I'm all for that. But that is pretty much it for this new version of Kopaka. He's a very excellent set overall, and I feel like he has a very, very solid build. He's got a nice color distribution going on. Overall, I am very, very satisfied with this set. There aren't really any open joints or anything that needs to be filled. He's got some great coverage. His backpack is nice. There's not a lot of complaints for this one. I don't know, guys. I think this one might be one of the top contenders of my favorites. We'll just have to see as we get to our next review. Set number 70785, Pohatu, Master of Stone.